Hello, my royal subjects, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About, where I take my double-edged sword and I bisect and trisect a particular subject, and we look at the good and bad halves. Today, we are going to be looking at reboots, as something I've had on my mind for a while. As you all know, or possibly know if you're new to the channel, or don't know at all, which is more likely, I played Thief, and I'm playing it right here. I'm playing one of the challenge modes, chain and loot, chain and grab, something like that. And I'm gonna admit right now, in hindsight, and this is something I do for myself to keep myself as continuous as possible and consistent, because there are times a lot where I contradict myself quite a bit, actually. Not so much in my beliefs when it comes to gaming. Although my beliefs can change over time, I'll admit that. But in whether I can still like a game or not, after playing it, after showering it with praise. In this case, I played Thief, and this is the 2014 Reboot, as it were, the new one. Although it is technically a continuation of the original series in its own way. As far as chronological, let's not get into that right now. But the point is, I almost forced myself really hard to like this game. Now, I did like it for what was there, but reflecting back on my time with it, there was there's a lot of travesty actually when it comes to this game. There's a couple things I really like about this game, and then there's a lot of travesty. Like, I like the little nods, the little fan service nods. You know, I always appreciate a little fan service every now and then. I really like the run button, actually. The ability to get out of a sticky situation is actually that's a bit of a, here comes my double-edged sword. That's at the same time, it's kind of too easy to just escape a situation nowadays. And there's a couple things that the game did right and a lot that the game did wrong. And you know, I still enjoyed the fact that I finally beat the game, because it was my second playthrough. First time I never did complete the game. And third, that what good was there to be had was okay. But really, in looking back, this game, I don't think they should have made this game. And this gets to the point of this whole topic. Reboots, as I said, and how they could be seen as a good thing or a bad thing. For example, the Thief the Thief game obviously wasn't that very good of a reboot. There's actually there was an alarming number of people, and I say alarming loosely, alarming number of people that did not like this game. This game was met with overwhelming mixed reviews, mostly negative, and even Ben Yahtzee Croshaw, who I look up to a whole lot, actually made this reviewed this game as his his worst game of the his least favorite game of the year, to put it nicely. Yeah, worst game of the year. And you know, I sort of had to agree with that as time's gone on. It's almost been a year since I played this game, my second run, the Let's Play, as it were. And I really I have to just admit to myself, you know, I mean, I'm glad I played it, but at the same time, I'm not. It really was. There was a reason I restarted, and it was my second run. I did not like playing this game the first time, and now that I think about it, I regret buying this game altogether. It really is kind of an injustice to Thief, and how there's actually quite a number of reboots coming out that I worry about, and some that look actually pretty good. Like that Star Wars Battlefront is technically a reboot. Or, as I like to call it, a reboot anyway. I like to think it's a reboot, because, you know, it's not a continuation of the previous game, but who we can it is. So, yeah, let's slap the reboot status on it. But basically, I really liked it, playing the beta and all that. See, that's what a reboot should be. Let me go ahead and say that. Let me get this part out of the way. A reboot should be a game that's not afraid to, take what didn't work in an original game, you know, in the originals, let's say, sorry. I have a hard time speaking sometimes, getting my point across. And it shouldn't be afraid to take what didn't work in a game and just get rid of it. Or at least fine-tune it, make it better, you know, better controls, better, better graphics, whatever. You know, better graphics, that's just kind of expected. I'm not expecting the better graphics to do the job for me. And I've said this before in a previous episode. I think the first one. This is like my third episode here. And what? Let me try and think of some examples. Tomb Raider, for example. It was Tomb Raider was, when they rebooted that, it was like I could see where they were trying to go for, trying to do that whole thing they did with Samus Aran, where they try to humanize the character some more. And I can appreciate what they're trying to do, but in both cases, in both Samus Aran and Lara Croft, I don't think it was really necessary, because they're going to be remembered as the silent badass protagonist who has no fear, or the badass globe-trotting, endangered animal murdering, human murdering, just because they wanted the same treasure she did, globetrotter, and respectively. And it's, you know, like I said, I can appreciate what they're trying to do, but why fix something that's not broken, is my point. And that's kind of what rebooting is kind of ruining for me in some ways. And like Garrett here, he was a fantastic character in the original Thief trilogy. In this, he's just kind of a sad sack, really. And, you know, I kind of let myself get carried away with the whole romance subplot, and I was like, oh, well, because to me, this is not the same Garrett, and therefore I could kind of root for that kind of stupid little silly side plot. I'm a big sucker for romance anyway, no matter what, you know, big whoop. But that's the only reason I was able to work myself up to that silly little thing, is because it's not the original Garrett. The original Garrett, I wouldn't care if he got romance or not, because the original Garrett gets laid left and right anyway. The original Garrett, he doesn't care about like some rebellion side plot. He's just a jerk with a heart of gold. Well, actually, he's more like a jerk who wants the heart of gold, blue heart of the ocean jewel, as it were, and he doesn't really care about your plot, and he only occasionally decides to care for a moment, and that's what I loved about him. He's not being Robin Hood, he's just trying to pay rent. And yeah, I'm getting on characters here, and I guess this is somewhat of a continuation of what me and Norm talked about in the last episode, about good character development, and how I think reboots, Devil May Cry, that's another good one. That really wasn't a necessary game. Yeah, it was a good game, I'll give it that, but when it wasn't necessary. It was like the original Devil May Cry games. I will see as better. I'm not saying I liked Dante. Dante was one of those characters. He's just so cool with everything, even if like just something, you know, really horrible happens, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. It's like, no. And when I see the new Dante, it's even worse. But you know, like I said, it doesn't matter for me. So yeah, my point is, I like him better. I liked all these rebooted characters. Hold on. I like the original characters version of the characters better than I did the rebooted characters. So that's one reason I kind of don't like reboots nowadays. Now there's a couple reboots, like I like Star Wars Battlefront. Like I said, I really really like that game. I freaking love it. And I'll get on that some other time, probably in another episode of this little format, where I'll talk about why I think Battlefront just far exceeds the original. And like I said, it's not just graphics. It can't just be all about graphics. That's one thing that's always bugged me. It's like, oh yeah, sure, the better graphics. Yeah, they come with that just comes with the territory, though. You expect better graphics, and then, but after that, I want to be impressed by a good game. I like the game could have the same damn graphics, but it better be a better game. That's what reboots should be. When it comes to like Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Might have already talked about this, but it was a good. I liked it. But it didn't have the same charm as the original Silent Hill. Yes, it had no combat, which I appreciated, but it wasn't scary. Yes, it had a way better voice acting, but the plot was really good, I'll give it that. But it wasn't, once again, the lack of scare kind of robbed it of a sense of urgency. And that's one of those cases, one of those rare cases where I think the reboot character, I think, was a little bit better. Because in all reality, spoiler alert, in Shattered Memories, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, in case I haven't gotten that across, is he kind of was actually a jerk in real life, if you look at it that way. And I like to look at it that way. Like, you know, he's very human. I like human characters that are very flawed and all that. And Garrett was a flawed man. And Samus Aran, making characters like Lara Croft and Samus Aran flawed. I don't know, it kind of just robs something of that, because they're more like the video game characters. And when you try to do the whole, let's characterize the shit out of them, kind of ruins something about that for me. Okay, back on track here. I got to take a step back and put it back on the train tracks here. These list of reboots, if it's gonna do the original job better, is usually the only time I can really condone these reboots. Like the new Doom, I'm actually looking forward to that. I'll give it a shot. I'm not gonna go in expecting to have my mind blown, because it does sometimes look like just another shooter. At least it's a shooter about shooting zombies, which I can appreciate. But when it comes to making the game better, what entails that? Well, I've kind of already covered that, but it entails, like I said, something better than graphics, and try and add some innovation. Try and fix something that didn't work. Obviously, the graphics from Silent Hill 1 to Shattered Memories obviously kind of in itself is an innovation, because the graphics in Silent Hill 1 just do not hold up and looks like crap compared to some other games that were coming out at the time, if I remember correctly. But reboots like Thief here.
Worn out.
I realize I'm getting all over the place. Once again, I'm still getting used to this format. Especially, it's a lot easier to talk about something when you have someone to bounce off to, like when Norm was here in last week's episode. But the Thief here, I have to admit here now, I will cherish the time I had with it, the parts that I did enjoy, but I cannot recommend this game to anyone. There's a lot of reboots I can't recommend to anybody, because it's just, there was no point to them. There's no point to reboots. Make a whole new IP, or make a whole new game. Make another sequel if you have to. As long as you haven't written yourself into a corner, kind of like the Resident Evil franchise has. That's just... Ugh. Now, another good time, I think, actually, now that I think about it, another good time for a reboot would be if you kind of ruined the franchise. But obviously, that didn't work in the case of Sonic, but not because it's too late, but I think because they just ruin it beyond repair. And games like Resident Evil, I'm not sure, maybe, now this is the good and bad to it. It's like, on one hand, could it be saved? On the other hand, could it not be saved? When you start to ruin a franchise like Resident Evil or like Sonic the Hedgehog, is rebooting it really worth it when it already has such a tainted history? Now, I like Resident Evil a lot more than I do like Sonic games, and there's some bad Sonic games I'll admit to liking. I can admit that, but I wouldn't want a new game, is what I'm saying. I'll try them out just to see where they're going. But I'm not holding my hopes up. So when it comes to rebooting, maybe rebooting is a good idea also when it's a troubled franchise and it could use a new fresh coat of paint. I also don't like reboots because it sort of, this is the biggest reason I don't like reboots, because it's sort of, let's say the series was really good. Why reset it? And that's like I said, it's kind of I have a hard time criticizing Thief here, because it didn't technically reset it. It technically is a continuation of the storyline, as an Easter egg in the game sort of hints to, alludes to, suggests, references, whatever you call it. And when you reset the franchise that you thought was great, it kind of pisses me off, actually. It basically says, oh, hey, all this history and lore that you loved? Yeah, it's all gone now. It doesn't count anymore. At the date of this video, if they happen to say that KOTOR is once again, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is once again part of the canon, I'd be glad to hear that. But as of now, I haven't really looked into it in the past week or two. I kind of do. It's one of the things, KOTOR being one of my favorite games of all time, if not the favorite. I'm pretty sure it actually is, if I just did the math, as it were. That's what I'm gonna call it. But if they were to say, it's like that. It's like saying, because when they took a chainsaw to all that canon, KOTOR was one of the things I don't remember seeing as part of what is still canon, and that just really sucks for me. And that's basically what a reboot also does for me, in a lot of ways. When it is a straight up, oh, we're just erasing the history. It really bugs me when it was a really good series. In a way, I kind of look, believe it or not, I look at this kind of in the way that Thief is. I look at the new Mass Effect game coming out as a reboot. And yeah, because it just does away with the Shepard plot and all that. It's set in the future, kind of like the Thief game here is, but it would really suck for me. Now I can move on from the whole Shepard thing, because I'm not going to get into that. That left a bad taste in my mouth. So hold on. That if they do it right, then I will say that is a good example of a reboot done right. In the example of Thief here, no, it really wasn't. And like I said, I could live with saying whatever I said in the Let's Play. Probably what I said here contradicted a lot of what I said in the Thief Let's Play, and that's why I brought up the whole why I think I tend to contradict myself a whole lot when it comes to that thing. I think my point and my beliefs when it comes to these gamings is constant. But, yeah, I admit that I'll say something, and then I'll say something completely different probably a month later in a different video on the exact same subject. If only because my opinions do change about this kind of stuff all the time. And for all I know, my opinions about reboots could be changed. But for now, I really think that reboots are just kind of blowing it. They're not doing it. Even when they're a good reboot, they just don't do it for me. I've ranted a whole lot in this video. Sorry to anyone who couldn't keep up with me. I hope to get better on this. This is why I like inviting someone else over to talk with me about it. And I guess I'll just go ahead and see you guys all in the next episode. Leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to get united today. And love yourself, because Cam loves you too. Huzzah!